everyone. My name is Sam Benati. I'm from Ghana, West Africa. So today I want to walk you through a quick demo on a project I built, that is building a serverless event-driven document translation pipeline on AWS with Terraform. So this project is part of um, the 12 weeks AWS challenge project that I built. The program was organized or is being organized annually by the AWS user group Yaoundé in partnership with Women Innovating in Cloud Africa, and then facilitated by Paula Wakabi and Calvin Tui. Right, so let's quickly move on so I don't waste the time. So this is the infrastructure, the actual infrastructure, and then this is the IAC tool, okay, or the IAC configuration that was used in provisioning this infrastructure. So let me explain what is actually going on here. Okay, now what is happening is that we have two S3 buckets here. Okay, we are saying that we are doing what? A serverless document translation. So essentially what we are doing is that we are translating a document from English. Okay, in this project it was English into two languages. Okay, that is into French and then into Spanish. Okay, now when the project or the file, the text file is uploaded by a client, which could be a web browser or a mobile app or from any other medium or interface, when it is uploaded or put into the input bucket, which could also be referred to as the request bucket. Okay, the Lambda function here, which is we all know it's a serverless complete service, okay, is then going to be triggered or invoked. Okay, now why is it being triggered or why is it being invoked? I will later go back to the S3 dashboard and show you the event type. Okay, it's a put event. All right, that put event is what is actually triggering the Lambda function to perform a series of activities. So now what you essentially need to know is that without any put event, this entire infrastructure would not exist. It's not going to work. Okay, so it's serverless. And then at the same time, event driven. Something happens and then it triggers the entire workflow to act. So it reacts or it acts in response to an event. Right. Now, Lambda has permission. Now it has permission to read any object or specifically a .json file that has been uploaded to this bucket. Okay, so it has the read or the put permission. Right. Now, Lambda again would have the permission to make an API call to Amazon Translate because it's Amazon Translate that is going to then translate the test document from English to Spanish and French. Now, after Amazon Translate is done with that translation, then Lambda, then again, by virtue of the fact that it has the execution rule, okay, by virtue of the fact that it has assumed a rule for which that rule has some permissions and policies attached to it, okay, Lambda would then put the object that has been created or the file that has been created to the Amazon output or the response bucket. Now, the output or response bucket, note, is also in existence simply because we even started the entire event process. Now, the final thing is that the entire process is being captured, okay, by CloudWatch logs. So when we go to CloudWatch logs, from the upload of the file to the translation to it being uploaded to the bucket should be recorded here. And essentially, this is a summarized overview of what is being happening here. Okay, I don't want to delve deeper or waste my time on that. Now, Terraform equally is, as I said, is being used to provision this. Okay, so we didn't create the infrastructure in the console, but we rather use code. Okay, and the IAC tool that was used is Terraform. We didn't use CloudFormation in this case. Now, we also provisioned um, a backend or a remote backend. Okay, and then that remote backend, which is S3 in this case, we also enabled the native state locking. right? We know that with Terraform, usually it's either you go with these two main types of locking, that is the DynamoDB locking, or the current one, which is the S3 native state locking. And as we all know, HashiCorp or Terraform has deprecated the use of DynamoDB state lock. So it's only advisable that in practice you go with the S3 state lock. And S3 state lock is also very important for um, collaborations, okay, and then working in teams whereby race conditions, it's like everybody is trying to change the state of a file. So when you look at what we have here, we have the tf state.log. So when somebody is working on the state file, all right, let's say somebody types Terraform apply or Terraform plan, okay, after the person is done, that is when another person on the team can also upload or change the state. So when one person is using this state file, no other person can use it. Okay, that is why we say it is a conditional write or put state file. Right. Let's proceed from there, and then go to the actual project and then see what happens. So, as I said, I said that Lambda has some permissions, okay, and then it has some rules. So let's look at the functions. I have a lot of functions here, but how will I even identify the exact function that I'm using? So if I come to my VS Code, okay, and then I look for my main.tf, okay, main.tf, you could see that this resource block, the resource block here, okay. Sorry, I'll need to go up. I think let me scroll down a bit so that I can have some. So the resource block here, the resource block here, okay, the resource block here, we are defining or creating the Lambda function, okay, where we have the local names and then the logical name. Now you realize that the actual function name is what S3 triggered translator. So if I'm to go back to this, I'm going to see S3 triggered translator. Then S3 triggered translator, I click on it. Then you realize that we have S3 here. It means that S3 is the event source. Okay, is the one that is supposed to what invoke or initiate the entire process. Okay, if I scroll down a bit, all right, these are some of the properties I spoke of, or the rules, permissions that I said that it's part of the execution rule. So this are all permissions or actions that Lambda can perform with respect to the CloudWatch logs. It can create a log group or stream or put event. And then when we go to the execution rule, that is S3, you realize that the principal is S3. So it means that S3 is allowed to invoke, call upon what? The Lambda function. And which specific S3 are we talking of? The request input bucket. This is it. You realize that this bucket is known as S3 input bucket. So it is only this bucket that can call the Lambda function, not the output or the response bucket. Response bucket does not call. It is rather Lambda that uploads to that. So you take that distinction or difference. Yeah. So let's proceed. From there, a minute. So this is, let me click on that. From there, let's, we can even check from S3. You can check from S3, okay. So the two buckets that we created, okay, let's verify whether those two buckets are even there. Now I have a lot of buckets here. How are we going to be able to identify the bucket we created? So let's come back to our VS Code or IDE. Then I had an output. So Terraform output. So with Terraform output, we are going to be able to at least print out some of the resources that we felt that is going to be very essential in this um, work. So this is going to print out the bucket that we created. Okay, Terraform output. So yes, you realize that we have two buckets. Okay, for this specific project, because I have a lot of buckets. If I write or type AWS S3 LS, you're going to see a lot of buckets in there. Same as the buckets. So yeah, you could see that we have a lot of buckets in there. So the request and then the response. This is the exact bucket we are talking of. Okay. And this bucket, my Terraform state bucket, okay, is the one for the remote backend, and then the native state login. So with that too, when I click here, you could see that this is the name. Okay, this is the name. And then we have the key. The key is the path. Okay, the path to your .tf state. All right, and then the region. And then this one, when you have the use lock to be true, it means that, as I explained, it's going to prevent race condition, and so therefore at every moment or point in time, only one person can work on that. All right, I think I've spent much time on the explanation. Let's get to action. So let's quickly upload a file to the bucket. But before that, let's check whether the bucket contains anything. So AWS S3 ls, and then I can go and copy the absolute path of the bucket. So now we know that we have input bucket. I can copy the absolute path of the bucket. So URL, and then we click on, we press enter. You realize that there is nothing, zero. Okay, zero. So this is it. If I do this, you are seeing zero here, object zero. Okay, meaning that it contains nothing. Let's also go to the output bucket and also confirm whether it contains something or not. So the response output bucket. All right, the response output bucket. I can check from the CLI to, so AWS S3 ls, and then the absolute path. Let's see whether it contains something or not. It equally also contains zero. Let's check from the console to confirm whether that's true. So you could see object zero. Okay. So now it contains zero document, zero text. Now, by using the AWS S3 CP, so the CP is a copy command. Now I have a sample file here that I would want to use. So the path, that is sample. So I'm using relative path input. All right, / sample underscore input 1.json. Okay, and then the destination. All right, the destination where we want to copy the file to. Right, I would want to copy it to the input bucket. So this is the actual path to the input bucket. Okay, and I click on, I just press enter. Okay, let's just see what is going to happen. So you could see that now it has successfully been what? Uploaded. Okay, successfully been uploaded. Let's check, okay, by using AWS S3 ls for that same bucket and see whether it's indeed containing something. So you can see that now it is no longer zero. Okay, it's no longer zero. It contains sample input.json. Okay, but initially when we did it, it was zero. Let's go and confirm from the console. So let's go to bucket. I go to input bucket. I click on input bucket, this input bucket, and then let me refresh. Oh, okay. So you can see it now. So quickly, if I come back to the architecture, we said that immediately something is uploaded. Okay, something's uploaded to this bucket. Then it triggers the entire process. So it means that now, by now, Lambda should have done two things. It should have, one, made an API call to Amazon Translate, for Amazon Translate to translate this file from English to French and Spanish. So we should have two files in the output or the response bucket. Let's go and check if we have two files. If you don't have two files, then it means that there is something quite wrong with our work. So AWS S3 ls, and then the path to the output file. We can get it here. Just press enter and let's see. So yeah, you can see it here that we have two files. Initially, when we check this output file, look at it very well. Initially, when we checked, we had only zero files. Okay, so now let's go back again to output bucket and go and confirm whether what we are seeing here is actually true or not. So this is the output bucket. Now we click on it, and then we have these two files what here, these two files here. So if you come back to the architecture, we upload. Lambda function has permission, okay, to download from this bucket and then make an API call to Amazon Translate. Amazon Translate will then translate it to English and French in this bucket. So we have it in here. Um, let's click on it. Let's click on it to actually view the content and see if it did any translation at all. So click on it, open, open. So it has opened. Let me quickly put this down so that at least you can have a better view of this. So now we have the file here. Okay, so you could see that the source language is what English. It was in English, right? And the target language is what French, right? So the original test, this was what was originally in the file we sent, and then the output or the target language when it was converted from English to Spanish. This is what we are also seeing there. Okay, I don't want to attempt reading the Spanish, but I'll do that later. Yeah, so from that, we can also look at that of the French, the other file. I click on that of the other file, French, and then open. And then let's equally look at that and see. It was also in English, and then it has been translated to what French. Okay, so you could see that this is what the entire original text, and this is the translated text. Okay, what we are seeing here. So this is the work of Lambda and then AWS Translate. Okay, so at this point, we've looked at Terraform because we've seen the infrastructure already. Now we've also looked at it being uploaded, and then Lambda also doing the translations through Amazon Translate, or Lambda invoking or calling upon Amazon Translate to do the translation, and then after uploading the file to the output bucket. Now the final thing is that the CloudWatch logs, okay, is recording every activity that took place, okay, from the upload till the final part where the file was equally put into the S3 bucket, okay, because Lambda has the put permission, okay, or the object, yes, upload permission, right? So let's go and look at that. Let's go and look at that. Let's go to CloudWatch logs. Let's go to CloudWatch logs and see whether we could be able to identify anything of such sort. So this is CloudWatch logs. You could see that the latest, I have a lot of logs here, but the current one is this. Okay, this is the most current one, latest. So let's see whether indeed CloudWatch logs was able to record every activity that took place. Okay, so now um, if you look at it critically, you realize that what received event. Now, from received event, you then look at what the event name. It was what object created, right, or a put event. So that is what the name of the event there. And then we could also look at what the S3 bucket here. Now look at the name of the S3 bucket. It is what request input bucket. Now when you come here, you realize that this is what the same bucket we have here, the input bucket. It was that same bucket. If I go back to buckets, the first bucket that we uploaded our file to, that is the same name we have here. Okay, request input bucket. So it's the same thing. And then what's relevant thing do I also want to look at? So you could also look at the request input bucket. All right. Now the content of it, okay, is what we are seeing here. The raw file when it was uploaded, it was what in English. It was in English, and then we want to convert it or the target language to either Spanish or French. So when you go through it, okay, you will see that every record was taken by CloudWatch logs. All right. So I just want to make my demo simple, although I tried, but I think I've spoken a lot. Let me just end here and we'll continue some other time. So thank you to the AWS user group Yaoundé, to Paula Wakabi, and then to Kelvin Tree. And then to my very learned colleague, a cybersecurity expert, Roland Awuku. Thank you very much, brother, for the support throughout our 12-week challenge. I'm very grateful. So, guys, if you want to go through the architecture into detail, or if you want to go through the entire project, I have this Medium article I published aside that you can go through it. It's, I think, 14 minutes read, and it details every activity that was done with screenshots to every part of the project. Okay, very detailed. And then you can go through it to replicate or even do something better than mine. I'll be very grateful to hear from you. Thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your evening.